What's up gamers, DreamcastGuy here, and it's Top 10 Thursday. You know, when you really think about it, gaming is one of the fastest evolving art forms. We went from something as simple as Pong to something as amazing as Overwatch in just 40 years, which is pretty insane. This week, I want to take a special look at some of the most influential projects ever made on my list of the top 10 games that changed gaming forever. Number 10. Super Mario 64. In the mid-90s, developers were still struggling with how exactly to make things playable in 3D. It might sound like an easy concept now, but at the time, no one quite knew what they were doing. This is when Nintendo stepped in with a daring move to turn their long-running platforming franchise into an expansive living world. Super Mario 64 sets you free in the Mushroom Kingdom, leaving it up to us to choose which levels we want to play and how we want to beat them. It introduced new styles of movement, interesting enemies, and stunning graphics for the era. Because of this, programmers learned all about designing in 3 dimensions. Number 9. Tetris. What list of groundbreaking projects would be complete without the best-selling puzzle game Tetris? You may not know this man's face, but it's him you have to thank for launching an entire generation of blockbusting fun. Alexei Pajitnov was asked to test out a computer that had just been invented in 1984. Since he enjoyed brain problems as a kid, he coded this simple masterpiece to see how well the company's new technology worked. Within weeks, people were lining up at the machine to try his invention. That's when he realized that he'd made something truly incredible here. Alexei gladly licensed it so that gamers all across the world could get as addicted to puzzle solving as he was. Number 8. Half-Life. It's hard to think of a more important early PC title than Half-Life. Gordon Freeman may not talk in this game, but the story itself spoke volumes to everyone who picked up his crowbar. After a terrible mistake in the lab accidentally rips down the barriers between realities, our hero is suddenly locked in a deadly battle with aliens. Valve put so much heart and soul into this project that every stage is still marvelously built even by today's standards. Combine that smart design with the extremely well-written plot and you had an instant classic. What's even crazier though is that Half-Life directly led into the creation of Counter-Strike, one of the first ever major online shooters. Many believe that this one game essentially paved the way for all of esports. Number 7. Street Fighter II. It's not often that a project can be so legendary that it almost forms its own genre of gaming because of its playstyle. Street Fighter II was quietly released in arcades in the summer of 1991. At first, people were unsure what to make of it. While there had been fighting games before, nothing had action this fast, and it also featured a strange new combat system called combos. If you timed your attacks just right, you could actually land a series of blows on your opponents in a row. Each character had different movesets, so learning how to pull off these special hits with everyone could pretty much make you the king of the ring. It was a bold idea that ended up revolutionizing all future fighters throughout the decades. The next time you sit down to beat up some friends, make sure you thank Capcom. Number 6. Resident Evil. Growing up, I played hundreds of different games. I was always searching for a new great experience that could blow my mind, but nothing could have prepared me for the raw terror of Resident Evil. With its tight hallways, limited ammo, and fixed camera angles, this project gave millions of fans nightmares. We take on the role of police officers Chris and Jill, 2 very well-trained cops who are about to have their skills tested. After their helicopter crashes in the woods outside Raccoon City, they're forced to find shelter in a nearby mansion. Little do they know that it's filled with zombies, complex puzzles, and maybe something worse. It's true that Resident Evil wasn't the first survival horror game to be made, but it's definitely the one that showed the world how amazing a frightening title can be and launched a new chapter in gaming's scares. Number 5. GoldenEye 007. If you've ever loved multiplayer shooters, you might be curious of the origins of this frantic player versus player gameplay style. For a long time, there was a distinct lack of good FPS titles on consoles. It was something you basically had to build a PC for if you wanted to try. That is until Rare Studios came out with the brilliantly balanced GoldenEye 007. This project used every ounce of power in the Nintendo 64 to make a first-person adventure that was fantastic from from start to finish. Every level has tons of guns and random things to explode, but the best part of all was that it had some epic multiplayer. Up to 4 people could all play at once, hunting each other down in a huge variety of maps, and it even featured tons of different match types to add in extra challenge. If it hadn't been for the overwhelming success of GoldenEye, we probably wouldn't have gotten things like Halo, Gears of War, or even Call of Duty. Number 4. Skyrim. Bethesda's really made their name as a company by expertly crafting massive worlds that seem so alive you almost feel like you could step right into the screen while playing. The Elder Scrolls franchise has slowly built itself with every new entry, growing both in scale and detail. When Skyrim came out in 2012, it changed how people saw fantasy games due to its sheer scope, the millions of things you could do, and the really entertaining quests. The impact on the gaming market was immense. You saw developers changing their art, pacing, and sometimes full gameplay structures to try and mimic it. This game set the bar so high for other studios that people are still saying, okay, this new game is fun, but is it 100 hours of Skyrim fun? To put it simply, The Elder Scrolls V is a titan of gaming, and I'm positive that we'll be seeing the echoes of its work for a long, long time to come. Number 3. Grand Theft Auto 3. In the modern age, nearly all major AAA releases are open world. If you want to make sure your game sells well, it seems logical to make the biggest playground possible for people to explore. The real question is, though, who invented this trend? Tracing things back through history, we land at Grand Theft Auto 3. This series began as regular overhead action games that had cool weapons and silly gang members. When the PlayStation 2 was announced, game designers suddenly had a lot more options at their disposal. With its strong processors and DVD disk drive, they were able to make things larger and better than anyone ever imagined. Using this cutting-edge tech, Rockstar set out to make the ultimate sandbox title. In Liberty City, every street is buzzing with activity. Any car can be stolen, any ramp can be jumped, and any organization can be conquered by doing the hilarious missions. Many of us just bought the game to cause utter chaos using cheat codes and running around with a rocket launcher. It was this sense of freedom that shaped how the world saw all of gaming. Number 2. Final Fantasy VII. I think we can all agree that Final Fantasy VII is not only the most beloved RPG of all time, but also a landmark occasion that established a new standard for the role-playing games that followed it. Up to this point, Japanese games in this style were having a really hard time catching on in the West. While there were a few exceptions, for the most part, you just didn't see a lot of big-budget JRPGs released here that were actually selling well. That all changed when Cloud showed up with his spiky haircut and need for revenge. Just like the story of Final Fantasy VII itself, things started off deceptively simple. Upon launch, you got great reviews, but still wasn't really burning up store shelves. Over the course of the opening months, though, word of mouth began to spread. You'd hear whispers of a game that had jaw-dropping cutscenes and magic spells so realistic that you wanted to cast them constantly. People were sharing plot details of a main character meeting a shocking end. For years, it was all anyone could talk about. Because of all these stunning elements, it was a runaway hit and helped the PS1 become a huge success for Sony. Number 1. The Legend of Zelda. In any art form, there always has to be that uniquely brave person who tries something wildly different than what everyone else is doing. At the dawn of gaming, almost all you saw was very basic platformers or ports of arcade titles like Donkey Kong. That was all radically changed when Shigeru Miyamoto came up with the outline for The Legend of Zelda. It would be an adventure that let the player discover their own journey through a bright and dangerous world. The moment you turn on the system, you're dropped into a place of epic wonder and imagination. As Link, it's our job to try and remake the Triforce and stop the evil Ganon from consuming the land of Hyrule. By wandering the map, we quickly see that this game is massive for a project made in the early 80s. Our hero is talented with a sword, but can also find and use a wide range of tools. Another way The Legend of Zelda tried to branch out was by letting players undertake dungeons in whatever order they wanted, allowing us to truly make our own epic quest. By far the most groundbreaking thing that this game did was invent save files as we know them today. That's right, the concept of being able to put a game down and pick it up later from the same spot was made by this title. In many ways, gaming was altered in its path because of the revolutionary originality of The Legend of Zelda, and for that reason, I am awarding it my pick as the game that most changed gaming forever. Did your favorite title not make the list? Got an idea for a future top 10? Leave it in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. You know, This entire week while researching this video, I've been drinking Surge and playing Mario 64, so it's kind of like I'm living in 1996 forever, which I guess I'm sort of okay with. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, maybe check out my last video. Please subscribe, and if you want, share this somewhere with your friends.